Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Seek Therapy Podcast. It's me, Jasmine.
And America.
And Jasmine.
So it's for show a little delay.
Yikes.
It's okay. How's everyone been? What's been your highlight? What's been your challenge? I I had a challenge? I don't think I mean, my challenge was that Janae had COVID like 2 weeks ago. So that was like scary. Um yeah. And then my highlight was just being able to spend 2 weeks with her and my husband for that first week. And then hanging out with friends after the fact, like after the quarantine period, and just like finding little ways to connect with my friends. So, like, my friend Ayana and we did a charcuterie board, and what I'll tell you about my new because I'm like, I gotta let everybody know about this, but um, yeah, so it was just like cool to just connect, talk, talk about how hard motherhood can be and adulting can be, and just like have that relationship. And so that, and then, just hanging out with my friends has been great. Maya had Friendsgiving yesterday. She was trying to give shots. I was like, ooh, the baby.
Somebody hold
Uh,
her.
all right. Well, no, we had to get back to her. So I was like, it's not giving
Oh.
like,
Mm.
yeah. um, but I'm going back to work tomorrow after a 2 week break. Um, so, huh, it'll be fine.
Right.
America, how your week been, girl?
My week has been good. Highlight would be I've been able to engage in a lot of resting and just being, which has been really nice. Some of
Hmm.
which has been forced, but it's fine. It has been lovely. And so now my challenge is gonna be because I gotta go back to work. Like I gotta
I feel you. That transition.
Yeah.
um I gotta go back to doing stuff. So that's somewhat of a challenge, but all in all, it's been a good couple weeks.
Good. And what about you, sis? How your week been?
My week's been cool. My trip ended officially yesterday. And yeah, it was a good trip. I got to spend Thanksgiving with some old friends in Maui. I have a girlfriend that got married, had her first baby, and yeah, just like sold her house, followed love, and moved out to Maui with her husband. And it was dope to like spend baby's first Thanksgiving with them.
Mm.
Uh, we celebrated my cousin's birthday as a family, so it was a much needed trip overall. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, just still processing everything. I would
Yeah.
say my challenge really is I'm with y'all, uh, coming off of Hawaii time and back to work tomorrow with these kids.
The children. I feel you, sis. I feel you.
The
I,
children, the preteens
they
in my case.
and mine are full blown teens. So,
Mm-mm. A
Mm-hmm.
mess. A
so
mess.
it is. It sure is. But I love to put people onto new things that I'm watching, listening to, working out to, any of that. And so let's go ahead and get into new and put the people on, okay? Because quick little story, my therapist told me when she leaves session with me, I always put her on to new stuff. And I was like, yes, that's what I do. But my new, I have two. So Janae and I went to Target on one of our days, and they were having a sale on books. So I bought Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. And it just talks about how, like, we collectively experience all kinds of stress that is attacking our bodies, and we don't really deal with it until we're like, what the fuck? Like, we have these physical ailments. And so it's interesting. And sometimes this dragon. So it's a good book. And then I've been cozying up to my fireplace. Netflix has a movie called Fireplace for Your Home, and it's an hour of just like fireplace, and you can hear the wood crackling, and it just is so cozy. So put up on it.
Love it. I guess I have two as well. I notice I usually bring up shows, so I will remain consistent in that. So during my resting period, we watched Wednesday,
Oh
which
yes, I
is
have that added.
fucking
Mm.
phenomenal. And I
Okay.
was very much against it at first because I am an Adams Family lover. I can recite all of the words to both movies. That is my shit. Don't play with it. And I was like, y'all really about to make a mockery of my movie? No, phenomenal, worth the
Mm,
watch. Definitely a binge worthy situation. So I encourage folks to watch that. And then my other new would be I recently start taking L-glutamine, whichever one.
mhm,
Just for like some gut health, like you were talking about. You know, as Black women, we're carrying a lot with the allostatic load and the things,
mhm,
and so just really
mhm.
working on gut health in this new season. And so far, I've noticed like some decrease in bloating and things.
Oh, send me the link.
I will. And things been feeling a little bit better. So that has been helpful. And it's only been it'll be a week tomorrow.
Send a link. Hey, send a link.
I will. Let me find my phone. I'll do that now.
Right.
Yes, we love that. I've been doing some greens,
Mhm.
and that helps with your
Mm.
bloating too. But Thanksgiving happened, so we back on it on Monday.
If you mix the two together too, I think
It's
that
where the
might be
thick
why.
girls thrive.
Hmm.
Hmm.
You got a new for us, Jasmine?
Yes. And I will reiterate, Thanksgiving is where the thick girls thrive. All right.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's
Um,
what you said.
that's what I said.
I didn't know what she said, but now I
Excuse me.
do. And yes, we do.
Now it's all clicking. Yes. Yes. I will say my new is so I finally watched from scratch on
Mm-hmm.
the 8-hour plane ride between here and vacation. Finished it last night because I fell asleep on it.
Mm-hmm.
And just yeah, it was everything y'all said. Um, yeah, I don't necessarily understand how Zoe Saldana was cast as a black woman from Houston.
Right.
But here we are. A story was told. Um, it was getting
Not a story
razzly,
was
y'all.
told.
So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Talk about to have loved and lost, right? Which is part
Mhm.
of life. It was a great story.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, right after I finished that last night, um, because I took a nap when I came back, I was up later and I started Wednesday. So yeah, I got like halfway through the second episode and thought it was the shit. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just something about that Morticia. Yeah, she just really does it for me. And I like that Ricci is in it. So
Yes.
it's like it's paying homage, but it's still its own thing, and she's in
Yeah.
it. I just, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
Netflix,
I'm
baby, get
definitely
into it.
gonna have to pull up on that.
it's good.
Yeah, the shits. So yeah, I'm coming back from vacation. I Last night I opened up my work computer and I tried to look into the Texas Revolution, y'all, and I just was like, ugh, not yet. I'm not
Mm.
ready. I'm not ready.
I don't think I would ever be ready for that. So that's understandable. So now that we caught up on everybody's new news and our little
Jasmine, you're
check-in
on mute.
for the week. Um, so this week we are going to talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness, if you haven't noticed, is a really an ongoing thing that we've had on the podcast because in order for you to be in a position to seek therapy, to get the benefits from therapy, you got to have a certain level of self-awareness. Um, and so, Jasmine, what's your idea of self-awareness?
Okay. Self awareness is being able to, as objectively as possible, be aware of your surroundings, experience, and how you show.
Mm-hmm.
Check one, two. Did you get
Mm-hmm.
all that, America?
I did. I heard you. Okay.
Okay. Bet. Things went black over here and not in a good way. All right.
Whenever I think of self awareness, I think of just
I think
knowing
I'm sinking. I
yourself.
think that's what it is.
Oh no. I think of knowing yourself, right? And knowing your feelings and how you view things, what you want for yourself and those around you and your life, essentially. And I think that that is necessary to be able to do the work that you need and want to do, right? Because sometimes we can go and say, hey, I want therapy, I want to do the work, right? But not really knowing what doing the work really entails. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes your therapist can reveal other work that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so being okay with that piece.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I would just add on to me, self awareness is really the ability to be able to take a look at your actions, your thoughts, your emotions, like the patterns that you have, and be able to examine them in an honest way, but to do it without judgment and without criticism, right? And understanding that
Hmm.
there isn't a right or wrong, it just is. Your emotions aren't right or wrong, they
Right,
just are. And so
right.
being able to be aware and accountable, sure,
Hmm.
but also without the criticism and without the shaming.
Right. Because there's a way for you to say, like, "Ugh, I made a choice that was not the best for me,"
Mhm.
right? Versus, I'm such a dumbass bitch.
Right.
Like, what?
Mhm.
How is that going to help you to improve your relationship with yourself?
Right. And
Because
some,
also, then you're letting people know that they can talk to you crazy like that because you do it to yourself.
right. And it's so interesting because I think when people talk about themselves like that, they usually say it as a joke or like as a way to deflect.
Yes, as a joke.
And it's like, okay, but A, it's not really fucking funny, number one. And number two, you are doing this in this moment as a probably an attempt to call you out, call yourself out. It might be an attempt to hold yourself accountable. It might be
Mhm.
an attempt to be validated and get a compliment. It just depends on who you are and where you are. But if you're
Right.
constantly talking to yourself like that out loud, you grow accustomed to that self talk. And then
Mhm.
what starts out as a joke then becomes your all the time inner dialogue that you can't shake.
Right. Right. And so then you're wondering why you're not getting all the things that you're manifesting, but not knowing that you've always told yourself that you're not worthy, that you can do this, that, it's just been negative self talk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was watching Eric's live with someone, I can't remember who it was, but he brought up the three S's and how important they are. Do y'all know? Y'all know what the three S's are?
Are we talking about, or is it relates to self awareness?
Hmm.
Go ahead and share them, honey.
She said, pull up on it. So, self love, self care, and self talk.
Mm-hmm.
So, how is your self talk? What are you saying to yourself? How's your self care? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing the things you need to? And self love. How are you showing up for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How are you loving on yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all should listen to that live because I came in like a little late and I still got a lot of good gems and they was talking about men and I'm not no man obviously, but um it was just very interesting and that is simple. As
Mm-hmm.
long as you are doing something for the three S's, you're focusing on yourself. You're focusing on, showing up for yourself in the way that you want to. And having that self awareness piece, that's how you do it.
But is it really that simple?
It can be.
Okay.
Why? How can it not?
Well, I asked because I think that many of us, or do I want to say most? I'll let us be great today. I'll be gracious. I'll say many. I think many of us think that we're actively leaning into, like, for example, those three S's, and we're not really doing that.
Hmm.
Because if we are not doing it as a daily practice, then we're really not doing it. And I think because, especially as Black and Brown women, when we are talking about especially self love and self care and even self awareness, we have to be willing to understand that systemically there are certain things put in place that impact the love that we have for ourselves, impact our ability and our willingness to care for ourselves. And then it's going to impact our level of self awareness. And so we also have to be willing to examine the fact that on a macro level, these things are going to impact if we're able to do those three things. And if we're so stuck in this place of shame and just not feeling good and not able to cultivate that relationship with ourselves because we're so busy doing it for and with everybody else, then those three things are going to be hard as hell.
Mm.
So I think in practice, it always sounds really good. And I
Right.
and then I tell my clients, like when we're talking about like I'm gonna preach self-love and self-preservation all day. I understand the importance. And sometimes fuck, I fall short. Right. And so sometimes we gonna fall short in this because on paper it seems really simple to do. But it also takes a lot of unlearning of the other stuff that we are bogged down by before we can really do that work.
Right.
That's all.
A lot of that has to do with unlearning that inner voice as well.
Yeah. I saw something that
A lot of time
said,
that inner voice comes from how our parents talk to us.
I'm like, that's exactly what I was going to say. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, especially if your inner voice is that
Mm-hmm.
negative one. RuPaul's Drag Race, they have like an episode where they have to be like their inner saboteur or something. And so they have to pretty much bring out their negative thoughts that they have about themselves. I was like, huh, that is one way to do some self awareness work, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of times it's easier to just turn a blind eye and act as if that doesn't exist. And so it takes so much courage to say, like, oof, here is the ugliest part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
How do I work on it?
Mm-hmm. Because you have to be willing to acknowledge and show love to those ugly parts in order for there to be any sort of change anyway. And so many of us are taught, not most of us are taught, that these ugly parts or these flaws are things that we have to hide and be ashamed of. And so if we're working so hard to cover these things up, they're not going to change because we're not embracing them for what they are. We're not getting curious about why we act that way or why we think that way. We're just feeling embarrassed about it or we're criticizing ourselves for it.
Yeah. And it's like you can have that reaction, right? But how is that reaction helping you to
Right.
work towards a place of self compassion,
Mm-hmm.
a place of unshakable self love?
Right.
If you can come from it from that compassionate place.
Mm-hmm. There was a research study done that said even though most people believe that they're self aware, only 10 to 15% of people are actually self aware.
10 to 15%.
Mm-hmm. 10 to 15% of us are actually self aware.
That's a very small percentage.
It is.
And so then it's like, well, how can you expect someone to know what they want from you when they don't know themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's not good.
Mm-mm. Oh, wait,
Why
no.
do you?
It's not good nor bad. It just is.
Right, it is. You're right.
We got some work to do.
We do. What do you think is impacting people's self awareness?
Criticism, self criticism, probably just their proximity to other people. You know,
Hmm.
we live in a society where whether we realize it or not, we are always comparing ourselves to other people. And in some instances, we're competing or other people are competing with us, however you want to look at that, in certain arenas. And so it can be really hard, especially when you're faced with other people's highlight reels on social media or highlight reel and how they communicate with you. And you see all of these things going really good for them, but then you're like, well, damn, I'm over here struggling. And so I think a lot of it is just our focus isn't really on inward stuff. Our focus is on the external, how other people may view us and how we show up in comparison to other people. And if we're always so focused on other people, then we are not going to take the time that we need to really cultivate this self awareness and cultivate a healthy relationship with ourselves.
Hmm. Ooh, and you brought up a good point because I hear a lot of people say, I'm always comparing myself online. And I too, I am someone who, when I got pregnant, was just like snatched. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get pregnant, but I'm gonna lose it real quick and be right back because I saw other people do it, right? But all I saw was that. It didn't show the process of how that happened. It didn't show what they ate throughout their pregnancy. It just showed that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to take it back and be like, focus on yourself.
Right.
You're too focused on what other people have achieved that you're ignoring what you have achieved just because it doesn't look like exactly what you expected based off of other people's experiences,
Right. Mm-hmm.
not even based off of inward,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to get back to me, back to 2020,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, just being able to be real with myself so that I can navigate that in a way that is gracious. to
Mm-hmm.
myself, offers myself that compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell the kids like I would never want to be growing up right now.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Because how
Mm-mm.
can you have like a healthy sense of
No.
self when everything that you are isn't what social media says is cool?
Right.
You're supposed to have a BBL, you're supposed to dress like this, like you're supposed to do this. And it's like when we was in middle school, we was just wearing Air Force and like, that was the extent.
Mm-hmm.
Jordans.
Mm-hmm.
But now they gotta worry about lashes, makeup, hair, lace front. Like I don't do all that at my big age. And I don't know if they see a lot of people that don't do that. So it's like this is what's expected of me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be a goddamn reality TV star, an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I would never want it.
Mm-hmm.
Did we did we talk about how to start improving that self-awareness, or well, definitely acknowledging who you are, acknowledging things, right? Acknowledging that things are not good or bad, like America said they just are. And then questioning things,
Mm-hmm.
not blindly following things, but questioning, do I actually believe this?
Mm-hmm.
What is actually of value to me?
Mm-hmm.
Becoming your own person. What about y'all? What y'all think?
I think an important part of it
I
too is
100% agree with
you can go ahead.
you. No, I know there's a lag, so I just wanted to like drop that soundbite in there. I think the thing is when you get to that point in your life and you are able to make the choices for yourself. Are all of the lessons, all of the things that I've been taught throughout my childhood applicable for the type of woman, the type of man, the type of person I want to be and show up as in this world? Once you start breaking down those constructs and start shaping who you are, self-awareness is inevitable. That's why a lot of times people aren't doing the work and you are. It's it's obvious, right? Because you walk a certain way once you know or begin at least starting to walk down the path of knowing who you are.
You start to accept a lot less.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what you need that scarcity mindset for when you know that you offer so much to people
Mm-hmm.
just by existing, being you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was you gonna say, America?
Oh, I was gonna say another big part of this is going to be a person being able to identify what their emotional triggers are. And I think because many of us grew up with this message that like we can't show our emotions. And so you can't show your emotions. So what do you do with them? We learn to ignore them or we learn to suppress them. And so we have all of these negative emotions that we think have we've been able to get over because we don't talk about it. Wow, that we still think that in the Lord's year 2022, but here we are. And so we think that okay, have all of these emotions, they're gone because I don't talk about them, but really they're sitting in our bodies, and we're not realizing the impact that that's having. And so we're either internalizing these emotions. And so we're angry, we're resentful, we're experiencing depression, we're anxious all the time, and we're pouring this energy onto other people. Or we find ourselves in situations where we're blaming other people and we're minimizing and gaslighting other folks or bullying people. And so we have to be willing to unlearn the fact that showing emotions is weak, or that
Mhm.
vulnerability is such a dangerous thing. Like, yeah, there's definitely a risk and a reward when we're talking about vulnerability and expressing our
Right.
emotions. But at the same time, you have to be in touch with yourself to know what are the things that are going to trigger certain responses for you. And when you know what those things are, you can create a plan, an idea, and understanding of why that's happening and what you can do to mitigate the impact. But so
Right.
many people are walking around actively engaging with their triggers on a regular basis and don't even
Right.
realize that they
And
are.
that's right. And that's you following people that you really don't like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You really don't fuck with them, right? And so that's why I'm like, no, no, no. Before I commit, who's coming? And that's me knowing my triggers, right? And making that plan. If it's people that I'm not interested in seeing, we'll make plans later. I'll send you a gift. But what I'm not going to do is disrupt my peace. But that's a lot of self awareness because when I was 19, 20, that was fine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we having beef, but I'm still gonna go because whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because I wasn't aware of myself. I thought like, oh, that shit was just gonna be negative. That's what happens when you have all these girls, right? It's gonna be arguments.
Mm-hmm.
That's normal.
Mm-hmm.
I know we wanted to talk about
It's giving
like
Real Housewives.
it is, and there's not any self awareness there. It's not a lot, at
Yeah.
least.
Self-awareness reveals non-negotiable.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Prime example, Ashley Darby trying to decide if she can buy this house with her husband that she's gonna divorce. Where is the self awareness? What is it that you want for yourself? How do
Mm-hmm.
you want your children to see you?
Mm-hmm.
What idea do you want your
Mhm.
relationship to give them
Mm-hmm.
about relationships?
So you
Right.
show up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of self awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people think that, as you get older, that it just happens naturally. It's not true.
Mm-mm.
That is not true. Because why else do you have like a lot of older people that are mad at other people for living their lives and being what they want to be?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Because they have that self awareness of
Yep.
who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I still am shook.
And it takes
10
work.
to
It takes doing the
15%.
work.
Right. Um, do we want to talk about our own journeys and self awareness?
Ting.
Jasmine, that was your question.
Oh, I don't know why I wasn't
Oh,
prepared
which
for
one?
that.
That one was yours.
Jasmine Ty.
Yeah. Self-awareness journey.
I am riding on a sound wave, y'all. Riding on a sound wave. Um, yeah, I would say for me, it's been, oh Lord, it's still a journey. Amen. Um, I I would say it started for me actually when I started therapy and working out the kinks. And a lot of it, like I said, came from who do I want to show up as in the world? When I finally financially separated myself from my dad, I was able to dive deeper into that. When I found myself kind of seeing my parents as people that are just trying to figure things out, that they don't have all the answers, even at their old ages, it allowed me to give myself grace. I find myself in disagreements or uncomfortable. It's how do I show up for myself and make decisions. So I've been the girl that sits there uncomfortable just for the sake of being there,
Hmm.
just for the sake of other people.
Right.
And no, that's not the case anymore. Yeah. So for me, I would say, yeah, I just it starts with honestly for me it started with therapy and learning like who am I now? What am I going to be in my womanhood? What does that look like?
So, question, with the therapy, was your therapist asking you questions that made you like reflect on who you are as a person and like you changing yourself from there? Not changing, but like, working on yourself, seeing some areas of improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. Reflection. I think it first started with reflecting what my words were my
Mm,
words matching with my actions? I can say all
mm,
day what I want, but are my actions dictating that? It
right,
takes a good therapist, someone that you trust and align with, to ask those questions and for you to not be able to be defensive about what your answers are.
right.
Once you're able to get around your defense mechanisms and really question yourself, that's it. You've started the process of self awareness.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think for me, I'm someone who has a long history of like depression, um, and then some anxiety. But when I was in high school, middle school, it was like that angry teenager, just like attitude, just mood swings. Like that is how my depression showed up. And so I didn't think that that's what was going on, right? Because I didn't question it. It was just like, this is just who I am. And so as I got through high school, I would have some problems with some girls, whatever. But I was pretty like I was pretty popular. And then college, we drinking, we turn it up, all kinds of things come up when you're in that kind of scenario, right? With other popular, cute people, right? Um, And so then I started working out, not because of any of that, but because I needed to work out. And then I'm like, damn, why am I responding that way? Like, why am I having these negative thoughts? Da 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 da. So for me, it really started with like the physical, doing something physical for myself helped me to transform my mindset, and question myself why I was responding in certain ways, why I thought certain things. And then journaling. I've always journaled throughout my whole life. Like journal on journal on journal on journal. We gotta get this journal off. And so a lot of journaling. Um, and then I got therapy, which was great. I had like two auntie therapists, and it was cool. But I feel like my biggest area of growth and like self improvement, setting boundaries, like just knowing who I am and letting that be felt, right? Showing up as myself everywhere. This therapist. The questions, I'm like, ooh, the thought processes, like the things that she bring up, I'm like, oh, okay, yep. That's exactly what it is. You're right, you know? And so that has been my journey, just always wanting to improve myself, not wanting to feel depressed, like not accepting that as my baseline. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to have some things in place so that I can feel better. So that's why I work out, because it's like what I have to do to feel good. And then the mental benefits, the physical benefits, like it all helps. And so that's been my journey. What about you, America?
Before I do that, what questions does she ask you? And I'll explain why I'm asking that in a second.
Mm, hmm. Just like, could it be that I don't have like a good example because this last one I didn't have much to talk about, but I didn't want to miss my appointment. But she just really had asked me questions that are like, dang, I had not considered that, or I have considered that, but haven't wanted to consider it.
Mm.
Like it's subconsciously been considered, but not something that I outwardly want to express. And I'm like, fuck, that is what it is. Because I know that the more that I resist talking about it or
Yeah.
avoiding
Yeah.
it, that is it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I asked because both of y'all, in talking about y'all's therapist or y'all's therapy journey, I noticed that, and yay, and I noticed y'all give a lot of credit to y'all therapists, and I'm sure y'all therapists are lovely people. But I also think that y'all have to be willing to acknowledge the fact that the change has happened because you wanted it to happen.
Hmm.
Because it's a lot of folks that come to therapy and they come to therapy not to really
Yeah.
do any of the actual heavy lifting and like
Right.
that hard work and doing that, like really looking themselves in the mirror. Like a lot of people go because, bitch, I just feel like talking. And I want to talk to somebody who's going to listen to me talk about whatever it is that's going on. And
Right.
I want somebody who I can talk to, and I know I ain't got to worry about my mama and them finding out, or I ain't got to worry about it being in a group
Mhm.
chat, whatever the case
Right.
may be. And so there's also a certain level of self-awareness that was present for both of y'all to make the decision of, okay, there's some things that I don't necessarily like, or there's some feelings that I had that are disruptive, or experiences that I've had that are still sitting on me. And so, okay, I'm going to actively and be intentional about the work that I'm doing moving forward. Because Jasmine could be asking you all of the good questions and doing all of the good work. And if you sitting there like,
I don't know.
I don't know, girl,
Mm,
but I'm gonna do the same shit that I told you I wasn't gonna do. I'm
right.
gonna do it again this week, just to make sure, just to
Right.
double triple check. So that's
Which people do. And you know, when you said that,
Yeah.
America, I knew you was gonna say that. And
Yeah.
I was like, do, because she also says the same thing to me. She's like, I didn't do nothing. Like, this is all you. And I was like, why is it so hard to give myself that credit? Because I just did change that shit. So, yes, I knew you was gonna say that. And you're right. We both was in the space to not deflect from those questions,
Mhm.
but to allow them to land, to then process it, and then form, you know, the opinion. Mm.
My processing took more than one session. I do want to say that. Because there were times I
Oh,
would come in there
easily.
talking about my daddy issues and then turn around and be messing with the same fuck ass dude.
Yes, plenty of time. Well, not now, but yes.
But I love him.
Oh, it's my turn. Um, so my journey on self awareness has been very similar. Oh, I heard myself talking. Okay, it has been very similar. Because it also has been more of a mind body situation. And so something happens when, well, I guess it's overlap with both of y'all. So I think something happens when you leave the house, like outside of college. So you graduate from college and you're actually on your, well, you're on your own and you're doing the thing and you're living life by yourself. So I did that
Right.
in a city where I didn't know anybody. And so making the decision to move somewhere where I didn't know anybody really forced me to spend a lot of time by myself. And it wasn't filled with distractions. It wasn't filled with uh bullshit. It was like really filled with, I need to get a better understanding of why I do the things I do, why I say the shit I say, why I think the stuff I think, and really having a better relationship with myself. And that has ebbed and flowed over the years. But I can honestly say that, at that time, I was 200 pounds more than I am right now. And it was like really like a make or break situation. And so during that time of starting to move my body with more intention, because I've always moved it and done things, but this was like a nah, bitch, this is about me. And I'm going to be very serious about the relationship I have with my body and the food that I eat and all of that. And it it went from I'm punishing my body for how it looks, and then I
Mhm.
noticed that during that journey, it's like, oh, I'm working out all of these hours a day. I'm eating these things as punishment because, girl, like you haven't done what you needed to do. So these are consequences.
Right.
And it went from that punishment to like,
Like
very
self-hatred.
low. Yeah. And so I was like, damn, I'm doing this from a place of hate. And so then I
Mhm.
was confused when, some some of the pounds came back. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it's like, oh, because you did this as punishment. You didn't do this with like a loving
Love.
love, right? I did it like, girl. So when I was like, okay, wait a second, I'm going to be much more intentional. And again, it's still a work in progress because sometimes these thoughts around the body is crazy. But
They are. Oh,
because baby, I'm like, bitch, what is we doing? What is
what is we
happening?
doing? Right.
But it's during that time where it's been much more, okay, I'm going to be really mindful of the thoughts that I have about myself. When I'm getting
Mhm.
stressed, I'm going to spend much more time of like what this conversation is. When I notice something negative come up, I'm going to have a conversation about what's happening. When I'm in the gym and I'm lifting heavy, like I'm going to have a conversation with myself about like, damn bitch, you are beautiful. This is beautiful. Like you a bitch,
You
you
a
never
strong ass bitch.
strong bitch.
Period.
I've literally said out loud, like, damn, bitch, you strong. And
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
really being intentional about the way that I show up for myself, but also being
Right.
intentional about the internal conversations and then making sure that I'm catching that when I'm talking about myself to other people. Right. Because I know Black
Yeah.
women, one thing we don't do well, like we don't really take compliments that well all the time. Right. So like somebody be like, oh, you're so pretty, or oh, you're so strong, or oh, you're so this. And we'll be like,
So are you.
so are you, lying? So are you? Or oh, no, I'm not. Or
I'm
oh,
lying.
What
today,
about this pimple?
right? Like, oh, your dress is so pretty. Oh, thanks, girl. It took me months to get into
Right.
it and all that. Like, bitch, yeah,
Right.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. And so just being really mindful of both how, and again, work in progress because baby, every day ain't great,
It's
but
not.
being mindful of my own inner dialogue and then
Mhm.
also how that impacts how I interact with other people. Because
Yeah.
we talked about this a little bit before we started, but
Mhm.
like when you in a pissy mood, any of us, when we like in a pissy mood, that is going to impact how we show up and engage with other people unless we're
Easily.
aware enough to say like, oh wait, I am in a
It
pissy
has nothing
mood
to
right
do with them.
now. And this ain't
Right.
got shit to do with you. Okay, let me take this and not let me sit on it or not let me minimize it, but I'm gonna put it in a box and I'm gonna come back to it when as soon as I have the next opportunity. But I'm not gonna take this out on this person here or be
Right.
mean and evil towards them and ruin their damn day because
Right.
I had some shit going on.
Like Tabby says, like Tabby says, if you can have a good day, don't you dare go and ruin somebody else's.
Come on now. We love Tab.
But that is so true.
Yeah.
Right.
But the
Say
awareness
that
you
again
have
for the
to have.
in the back. Shit.
But you have to have a certain level of awareness to even be able to do that. Like some
You
people will
do.
be pissy and fuck up your whole day and they don't even realize
Whole day and don't know. And don't know why you mad.
they don't have no clue. No
and
clue.
never even thought to consider that their piss poor energy is rubbing off on you.
Don't even. What to do?
It's horrible.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, me being someone that was like that, like I was the type of person, if I was mad, everybody knew it.
Same. Mm-hmm.
And so, people would start to say that, like, oh, yeah, like we know if you're mad, everybody, that's just a Jasmine thing. Oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's horrible. We're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I'm not going to accept. I'm not going to accept that that's just me and that's how I'm going to live my life. And so sometimes I have imposter syndrome creep in, and this is my first time ever talking about this, like ever. Where it's like I am genuinely nice. Like I say nice things to people all the time, and I'm like, something just comes in and it's just like, bitch, you're not nice because of who you were, you know? And so it's like, damn, no, false.
Mm.
I was who I was, and I am who I am. And it's been a journey the entire time. And that shows you the growth that I've had. Because instead of just saying, this is my reality, I said,
Amen.
I don't accept that. That's not what I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in college and we had to talk about like our favorite fact about ourselves or something. And this girl who I always felt like drawn to because she always felt like positive, just like in a she's cool to be around type of way. And she was like, yeah, I enjoy like being the sunlight in people's lives. And I was like, I like that. I was like, that is true. But see, the thing about that is that a lot of people that feel that they are the sunlight in people's lives don't allow themselves to have the negative experiences.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to show up because they have nothing positive to offer.
Mm-hmm.
You can be all the things. Just because you're like a positive person in someone's life doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have things happen and you say that that was fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that compassion, right? And knowing that you don't have to only be one thing. There's duality.
Self compassion.
What is your face and eyes doing?
So I started thinking about like how society also forces us with certain labels and how we show up too. So like this girl who is a sunshine in people's life. When I heard that, I saw like bubbly and smiling and all of this all the time. And so that makes you sunlight, right? And this isn't about her really, but like that was the first thing I thought. But then I also think about other people who may not be smiley and energetic and bubbly, but also maybe not maybe not a light, but like, bitch, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna give you loving,
You are a light.
touching, right?
Your light is just, and the thing
You
about
are
it is
alive.
that your light just shines differently than someone else's. You're still making people, want to show up as their best selves if they in
You're
the right
shining on
space.
themselves.
I'm like, if they in that space. But you are a light.
Shine on themselves.
I'm uncomfortable, and I was gonna throw it back, but I'm trying to receive
Why are you uncomfortable?
because okay, because I think
Reflect.
because of like how, and this is my self awareness. I
Mhm.
know how I present, right? I'm very clear that I present as I am a Sagittarius fucking terrorist through and through. Okay. that is my sun, moon, rising. I am very much like, fuck all this shit. Let's go have a party. Fuck all of this. Let's go. Like, I'm very much like, it seems on the outside like don't nothing bother me, and I seem very like I don't care. And so
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that I show up in that way, and I know that some people may, because of how society defines us as women, some people might categorize me as mean. But if you really look at when they're talking about the characteristics, what they're talking about is
Right.
somebody who is kind,
Right.
and my boundaries are what
Firm.
they're supposed to
Same.
be, right?
Yes.
And so I
Same.
think about that a lot. It's like, damn, if I came off as like bubbly and da 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 da
Mm-hmm.
da 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 da, which like that be happening on the inside sometimes.
Right.
And I'm like,
Sometimes, yeah.
oh, yay. But it might
Right.
not always show because I'm just like,
Stale face.
because bitch, it's a
Which
lot.
I,
Yeah.
right. Yes.
So I just
Which I
think about
definitely feel you.
the difference there, like
So good.
how
Mm-hmm.
if you show up one way, it's like, oh, you're da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That's all you are.
That's all you are. I don't
And
know.
the thing about it is that I am a light in a lot of people's lives, and I am sarcastic. I'm not like super high pitched. Like I'm pretty nonchalant, like I just am. And so that lets you know that we all shine in a different way and the way that we're supposed to. And so don't take that from yourself just because you don't present the way that lights do. So just
Oh, I don't. I think I'm motherfucking amazing.
you
Um,
are.
and I'm clearly like
And
again,
I know you do.
okay. And bitch, if you're gonna be around me, you're gonna be great too. Okay.
Period.
But
You're welcome.
you're welcome. It's free. I should be charging motherfuckers.
I actually tell people that the invoice is in the mail.
I need to start because bitch, there's some people owe me some money. But whatever. The universe has paid me back triple, so it's cool. I don't worry about that. But I think when we're talking about
That part.
I think when we're talking about like our self-awareness and we're being intentional about how we show up and what I said before about how society can impact that, right? Because
Mhm.
society can easily make us think that because we have boundaries, that like we're mean or we're not good people because we're not
Right.
bubbly and all of this all the time.
Right.
And the reality is like, no, I know me and I know my core values. And I
Right.
know that I am a good person, even if it doesn't look like rainbows and butterflies
For
and
you.
sunshine for you all the time.
Right.
That's
That
all.
part. That is a fact. And it just is what it is. You're just gonna have to continue to work on yourself and question yourself. And instead of saying like, oh, that's just who I am, um, really question and challenge those thoughts as they come up. Because that's how you become an old person
Yeah.
stuck in your ways.
Right.
Oh, that's just how I am. That's just how it is. No, no, no.
Well, that's not just how you are.
Not willing
Sometimes,
to evolve.
right.
Right.
Sometimes shit happens and your defenses kick in, your survival instinct kicks in, and you do certain things just so that you can survive to the next day. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're right. The willingness to sit with that and get curious about certain things versus criticizing and blaming, but like, okay, why do I do this? Where is this coming from?
Right.
And then taking a moment to accept it for what it is and then making an intentional decision to do something different. If
Right.
different is available in that moment.
Right. You said something earlier about how we talk about ourselves to other people or something like that. And a prime example of that was I was in Jamaica and I actually have it on video where I had a bathing suit that I bought and I was self-conscious when I purchased it. And like when I tried it on, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna bring this. Like, oh, ooh. And so I put it on and I was like, oh my God, like the jerk chicken I had, you know. And so I'm walking up and my friend, she's like, oh my God, you look amazing. And I was like, I am going to refrain from saying something negative about myself and receive what you say. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was very easy to go to a place like, but you had this, you had that, you had, you know. receive it. You cannot challenge what someone is telling you they feel. She thinks that
Mm.
you look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you questioning it?
Mm-hmm.
What's her experience of it?
Hmm.
Mm. I think that brings up a really good point too, in terms of like just how unaware we actually are, and why our opinion of ourselves can't really be trusted. Can't really be trusted because the people around you most likely can give you, oddly enough, more insight about you than probably you can, because you're looking at yourself and viewing yourself, and not just you, but all of us are like viewing ourselves from one lens, and we have one understanding of who we are and why, and there's all this criticism and shame and blame around it.
Right.
People on the outside might just see it for what it is. So you're thinking about the jerk chicken and the drinks and the things as you get dressed, and this
Hmm.
friend who may or may not know you had those things, her thought is just, oh, you look beautiful.
Right.
So really understand that sometimes, and this goes back, don't believe every damn thing you think, because most of what you think is not true.
Right.
And people are gonna see you very differently than how you see yourself.
Exactly. Because we are our
Right. You're
worst
looking from the inside out.
critique.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. It is so crazy because this is the hardest work. And I tell my clients this all the time. This is the hardest work you gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
period. If it wasn't, everyone would be doing this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to stay consistent
Mm.
with the work that you're doing because it is fighting for your life. As long as you have breath in your body, you can make a change. You can make that change.
Mm-hmm.
It's never too late. And and just because you've done like bad shit in the past doesn't mean that you're not able to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge, question, challenge those thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and then put the action in there so that you are living a life that you say that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So some action steps for increase. Oh, go ahead.
Before we do action steps, real quick, can we talk about signs that you're not self-aware?
Oh, easily. You keep doing the same shit over and over again.
Poor fucking wrecked.
The same shit.
Say it again. You do what?
A lot of
The
people say
same
that.
shit
Oh,
over and
oh,
over again.
Thank you.
expecting things to be different. A lot of people say that's insanity,
Right.
but really it's just your lack of self awareness.
Get
It
the
is.
fuck into it.
It is.
Oh my! I'd be
Yeah.
so stressed. Okay, thank you. I just
And
wanted
it
to
will
say that.
drive you insane. But like it grinds my gears when you say that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It really will.
Yep.
You know, and the time is passing regardless of if you make a change for yourself. And so you can either look back and be like, yes, thank God I put myself first and I stopped dealing with this ain't shit ass person. Notice I said person because it's not only niggas,
Right.
bitches too. You know, or you can look back and still be going through the same fucking shit
Yep.
12 years later.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
It is all in you.
Yep.
If you say that you want someone who puts you first, respects you, commits to you, why are you accepting someone who disrespects you, who won't commit to you, and keeps your relationship a secret?
Correct. Get into it. Another one that I think is really important is that your emotional response doesn't fit the situation. And I think that is so much more common than people are willing to realize. But if you are having this really big intent, and let me be clear, your feelings are valid. Yeah, however, they're not facts.
That's what I was going to say. Your feelings are always valid,
They're not facts.
not facts.
And so if you're having this really big emotional response to something that doesn't warrant that response, there's a high probability that you are lacking self-awareness, because more than likely this extreme reaction is triggered by some shit that happened 5, 10 years, months, whatever ago. And it's much more rooted in that than it is on what's happening in that moment. And people will say like, oh, I'm so mad because I'm in traffic, or I'm so mad because he said he was going to be here at 5 and it's 5:15, and you done blew up and threw the person's stuff out the window and set the shit on fire, or you blowing real loud and aggressively at the person in front of you and sticking up your middle finger and all of this. And it's like, baby, you're not even mad about what's happening right now. You mad about some shit from before. And it's creating the same emotional response within you. So you're using this as an opportunity to openly express it.
Just make somebody swerve.
I hope so, because that really be like in my
Right.
spirit. Shit really don't be that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Shit be serious.
Right.
If you want to see some serious shit, go on TikTok and look for the sound Mariah the Scientist and scroll through them motherfucking TikToks of the way people be getting dragged by other folks. That's some serious shit.
Oh,
I've never seen
oh,
it.
look.
Will you
It's
send
spread.
one to the group so that we can see?
I can if I can find. It's like the song is spread. I've never heard this one before in my life, but it's the Spread Thin song. And if you look that up in the sounds and watch the videos, baby, people really be going through. Now, those situations, for the most part, are intense situations, but they also are people repeating the same damn thing. He broke up with me. He cheated on me. We then had a baby. He shot me, and then I had the baby anyway. And then he cheated on me with my cousin and them. And then he had a baby with her, but I kept our baby, ma'am.
And then we was just sister wives. Like,
ma'am,
you have to want better.
Ma'am. Okay. And then the other one, sorry, this is another one that got my gears. The things that you do to make yourself feel better don't actually make you feel better. And yet you do them anyway. So like people will tell me all the time, like, oh, I do certain things to distract myself when I'm feeling anxious or when I'm feeling sad because it makes me feel better. It's like, does it really make you feel better? Well, no, but okay, so then what's the line say?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go ahead and sing, y'all go ahead and do it because I know y'all like the family. So y'all go ahead and sing the part for me. She tried to do what? She tried to do what? She tried to sex it. She tried to do what?
Her hair. Do it. Oh, have to sex it away.
Come on. What?
I tried to sex it away. Yeah. I tried to put one in the air.
And it just made me
we are having a full-blown jam session. Yeah.
And that not working?
It doesn't. It doesn't. And then it's like, how does your body count work after? I won't be toxic.
Not how your body count work.
I won't be toxic.
I'm not this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the reason why that one is important, and then I'm sorry, we can talk about the list, but the reason why I wanted to say that one is because our lack of self-awareness is really going to pick up in moments when we are stressed and when we're not feeling as good about ourselves. And so when we mask those negative emotions or that discomfort with things that are distractions, then it's going to tell you a lot about yourself and a lot about what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Because
that's to 10 to 15%.
Right.
Says the girl. Drinking.
Cheers. So,
what is happening?
Jasmine, what is happening?
What are we doing? Okay.
Join. Lord have mercy. May the Lord bless us.
Guys. You know what?
I'm like, may the Lord bless us
Lord.
with a new Wi-Fi situation in a new year. Receive it.
It's gonna happen. I'm moving over it. Here.
Some action steps, homework, or increasing your self awareness. I mentioned before journaling. If you don't know where to start, Pinterest has thousands of journal prompts that you can pick from. Pick one a day and just answer that question, but really reflect on it, sit on it. Don't just write one word, like, really push yourself to reflect on the question and do that work. Um, Also, with the three S's, working out, doing something physical, yoga, walking, hiking. It doesn't have to be like just doing something physical because that will help elevate your mood and which will elevate your mindset. And you can then, start to acknowledge those negative thoughts that come up so that you can work on that.
Mhm.
Those are my two homework assignments for people. What about you all?
You can go, Jasmine.
I knew she was going to say that. And you should just be ready.
Mine are to step your internet up
Oh,
by
ah!
any
Oh my goodness gracious!
I'm dead.
by any means. I'm excited to actually listen to this back. What the fuck?
You're hilarious.
Honestly, yeah, recognize the space that you carve out for yourself and make that a priority on top of journaling and all that. But carve space out for yourself in your life.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I also say making that a priority. I tell my clients that, like, that has to be a priority, a non negotiable.
And you need to be willing to
Yes.
demand that time, especially for my married single women, or married partner women who are single, demanding that.
Oh, oh, oh. Shots were fired.
Yes.
Sorry. Hmm. Um, I think the first thing is really understanding if you're in the 10 to 15%. Um,
Right.
and getting
Is
a
there
clear.
a quiz?
There is. When I was
Can
five,
we tell
I
them?
was doing it. Um, so the
Apparently,
INLP Center has a 12 multiple choice question,
The what? Oh, INLP.
mhm, that will tell you your level of self awareness and what to do to improve it. So I will send that to y'all, and then we can put that in the show notes for people too.
Yes.
Um, so I think that's really an important first ish step,
Hmm.
as well as knowing what your strengths are. When I worked at this one place, we did the VIA strengths tool. So it's the values and actions inventory of strengths. And so you're basically just going to be, it's a
Yeah, I did
lot
that
of
one.
questions. Yeah, and it's going to
Hmm.
tell you what your top strengths are and how you utilize them. And I think that's really important because most people can't even tell you what their strengths are, what they're good at outside of caring for their kids and being a good employee. So that would be a good step too. Um, and then we talked about being curious, and I
yeah.
always think that curiosity is going to be at the top, but I think being mindful of when you're being curious what the questions are that you're asking. And so I always tell my clients, instead of asking why, ask what. Because when we say ask ourselves why we do something, it can easily send us on a spiral, and it kind of sends us down a rabbit hole of like negative thoughts, and we're focusing on the insecurities, we're focusing on our weaknesses, what we've done wrong, what we need to do better. But when we say what, it's more objective, so it really allows us to be able to get a better understanding of the action. So like, what was I experiencing in my body at that time? What can I do to overcome, insert whatever you need to overcome? um what were the environmental factors that were influencing this moment? What are the relationship dynamics? Like being clear about what, instead of the why so that you can actually get action steps there, and that you can start to examine what the patterns are, what the behaviors are, so that you can actually make a change instead of focusing so much on the things that are wrong and the things you need to do better.
Right. And coming from it from that place,
I
like
like
a
that.
place of you're broken and needing to be fixed.
Right.
But coming from it from a place of we all have
Right.
places to improve on.
Hmm. I'm gonna give an example just real quick. So why would be, why do I
It.
have a hard time setting boundaries? That would be a why question. Why do I have a hard time setting boundaries? That could take you on a damn loop de loop for months. So instead of why, what factors or what needs to be in place in order for me to set better boundaries in this relationship? Like, what aspects of this relationship need to change in order for me to feel safer to set boundaries? Like, just changing the perspective there so you can actually get the answers that you need.
Right. Yes. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like that was a good one. A good conversation. Lots of things, lots of gems. And I do want to acknowledge you both for just being open and talking about your journeys with self awareness. So you can go ahead and use any of the action items so that you can start to work on that self awareness piece for yourself. And just know that it will not happen overnight. You didn't become this person overnight. And so don't expect to change who you are overnight either. That doesn't mean that we don't continue to make those strides. So, as always, you can eat the low vibrational plate. Y'all need to be done with the low vibrational plates by Monday. Be done with it. You can do the hiking. You can go to CrossFit. You can drink only green drinks. But if you're ignoring the things going on in your head and in your heart, then you're still not truly healthy. So go on ahead and seek therapy. It's 2022, boo. We all need that shit. We will see y'all next week.
Into it.
Bye.
Bye.